Eurozone finance ministers will hold talks next week on the bloc's budget proposals, aiming to bridge the gap between northern and southern countries. States around the Mediterranean are particularly keen for a deal, having been hit by the slump in travel and tourism amid the lockdown. Cyprus has pledged to cover healthcare costs for visitors who contract COVID-19 on the island ahead of its reopening on the 9th of June. Kωνσταντίνου Πετρίδη, the Minister of Finance from Cyprus, joins us now. Minister, thank you very much for sparing us your time. We were just hearing from a reporter in Italy that tourism contributes 13% to the Italian economy. It's even higher when we talk about Cyprus at 15%. Now, you've made this generous offer, pledging to pick up most of the tab if visitors contract COVID-19 while holidaying. That provides a significant safety net. How big a difference do you think it will make to the tourist season?
First of all, yes, tourism is very important for Cyprus. It accounts for about 12 to 15% of the GDP. We are quite optimistic that we will have important tourist arrivals this year, also because of our success to contain the spread of the virus. Basically, it wouldn't be too much to say that we are almost a pandemic-free country right now, and we are also strengthening our incentive packages with airliners. There was an important announcement a few days ago with Wizz Air having Cyprus as its base for 7 new countries. So we're quite optimistic. Parallel to that, we have a very high number of intensive care units, higher than the average of the European Union. Cyprus is a safe place. It's a beautiful place for holidays, so we're quite optimistic that we will not have a catastrophic year for tourism. On the contrary, we will provide a safe destination for European tourists.
What we have witnessed across the board in Europe, a very uneven hit around the economic fallout from coronavirus, and some of the projections suggest more than 7% decline in 2020 for Cyprus. What do you make of the measures that have been put forward in the European budget at this point and from the ECB? Does it go far enough to help out Cyprus?
I think for the first time we are in a position to revise our estimate upwards. Until now, all the revisions had a downward trend. Now, with the lift of the restrictions, because of our success to contain the virus, we are proceeding to the new phase, the reopening of the economy. I wouldn't estimate the bad scenario for recession, but definitely it is a symmetric shock for Europe, and the EU needs to ensure that this symmetric shock does not turn out to be in asymmetric recovery. And in order to face that, in an effective way, we do need European instruments. We need more European instruments. All the interventions by the European Central Bank are welcome, and we took advantages of all the tools offered in our economic policy. Nevertheless, it is very important to proceed with the proposals of the European Commission regarding the recovery plan, regarding the establishment of the recovery fund, and our position is that it should be based more on grants and less on financing. And I hope that we will move quickly also at Eurogroup level in order to ensure that the financing needs of the countries are properly addressed. And we have also to take into consideration that we would have to help sectors and geographical areas that have been hit to a greater extent in this crisis. And this is the effort, I think, at the European Union level.
Minister, the EU Budget Commissioner has talked about perhaps an annual charge for large companies that get access to the single market as a way of trying to recover some of the spending related to coronavirus. There's also been talk of new digital taxes levied by the Commission. Do you support any of these ideas to raise additional revenue? What would you prefer?
Of course, these are all ideas, and definitely are fully aware that all the financing needs they have to be repaid. We are prepared to discuss everything at the European Union level. We do not welcome an increase in the corporation tax, but we'll see. We will productively discuss all the ideas put at the table at the Eurogroup.
Minister, I want to focus on the digital tax for a moment, because the US just opened new investigations into the EU, including for preparing plans, or having plans to impose new digital taxes. So I was wondering, do you think that this latest proposal from the European Commission could spark a trade war with the United States?
We definitely want to avoid a trade war. But it is something that has to be finalized and discussed at European Union level. The effort is not trade war, and we should not find refuge to protectionism. And I don't think that this is the intention right now at European Union level.
Finally, I would like to ask you about the fragmentation that we're seeing across the EU when it comes to state aid. Certain countries obviously have a bigger fiscal space to help their companies. That's not the case in certain parts of the European Union. Are you worried that after this crisis there will be even further fragmentation across the EU?
Exactly. This is why we need a recovery plan that will face these challenges, because yes, we have relaxed the state aid rules, but nevertheless the possibilities a country has to finance this support to the companies, this state aid, is unevenly spread between the countries. Some countries do have the possibility, they do have the budgetary flexibility, and some others they face budgetary constraints. And this is why, yes, the possibility is there that there will be uneven competition that will harm the single market. And the single market is the biggest achievement at EU level right now. And this is why the recovery plan, the new tools and the new instruments at European Union level, they have to take that into consideration in order to avoid any potential harmful competition within the single market, which would depend on the wealth of the public finances of each country.
Minister, thank you so much for joining us today. Konstantinos Petridis, Minister of Finance for Cyprus, joining